Ah, the tranquil sounds of nature. Let's go kill something. So, hello and welcome, my name is Haas, and this is a look at a game called Blackguards. Blackguards is currently in early access. You can get it right now on Steam. You can get the first 2 out of 5 chapters. It is being created by Daedalic Entertainment, who are mostly known for their point-and-click adventures, such as the Ponia. And although there is certainly pointing and clicking involved in this game, it is not a point-and-click adventure. It's in fact a turn-based RPG, or to be a bit more specific, a hex-based combat RPG. Combat is in fact a very big aspect of this game, probably the major focus as far as I can tell so far, but let's first have a look around and see what is actually going on. Blackguards is actually based on the Dark Eye RPG, a German RPG. I don't know that much about it, but it basically means this will have a pretty mature setting. For instance, you can see I have a quest over here. This is right at the beginning of Chapter 1. Again, this is early access. Do keep that in mind when you're watching this. Right at the beginning, you are basically captured in a prison as someone you know has been killed by what you think is a wolf. You don't actually know at this point, but basically you are imprisoned in Nirtha as the murderer, and together with 2 other criminals you make your way across this countryside. Sadly, the criminal bit is underplayed quite a lot so far. It isn't really much of a focus, but the story so far, I don't know where it's going yet. Again, only the first 2 chapters. It could be amazing later on. I don't know so far, but it certainly seems promising at the very least. So this is the map where you very linearly make your way across. You don't have that much freedom of where you're going. It's basically moving from one point to another and doing little things there. Let's have a look and see what's actually going on in these actual points then. So here we have the city of Wobran that seems to be under siege by the sun itself at this point. You don't actually move around in this city, you just interact with NPCs. So for instance, I could click on this beggar, and because I'm a nice guy, I'm gonna give him some money. And that is basically how it goes in these little sections. You have innkeepers, you have merchants, and this is basically pretty RPG standard fare. These merchants, you get items after you win battles, and you equip your dudes or dudettes with items. Obviously here you can see the character sheet, but here we have some items. I have a fancy staff. It's not that fancy, it's pretty basic. This is basically as much as you would expect it to be at this point. Nothing that strange here yet, but what is strange is the way you level up. You may have noticed I have these AP points. Well, that's redundant to say. They're called adventure points, not adventure points. And you gain these every time you complete a mission, every time you complete combat, essentially. That's how you complete missions most of the time. And you spend these on everything if you're leveling up your character, except for items, of course, because you do have actual gold. So for instance, here you will have courage, cleverness, intuition, and charisma. I can put these adventure points into them as much as I want to, basically. Although they are quite expensive. You also have spells, you have talents, weapon talents, special abilities. It seems to be quite advanced, but then you realize that these are all the same for every single class, right? At the beginning of the game, you select one of 3 classes. You have the Mage, the Warrior, and the Ranger, and they all have the same attributes, the same talents, the same spells, the same special abilities. These weapon talents, you can mess around with them a bit. I can make this guy more defensive or more offensive if I want to with items. But this is basically my main worry with Blackguards right now. It doesn't seem to have that much character customization. So for instance, I can put points into this spell here because I already have that spell and I start with that spell because I'm a mage, but all of these spells I cannot get them, right? I need to find a special trainer. Even though I have the points required, I cannot put points into this move as lightning ability, even though I might really want this spell. I cannot do it. I need to find these trainers, right? Which you can see in some cities. This is a very specific trainer. I don't get spells from this. I can learn this targeted shot ability. And this is how all the trainers work. They have 1, 2, maybe 3 kinds of spells or traits. And that is really about it. So it's kind of... This also has traps and animal lore, as you can see. Animal lore, I can buy them. I can put AP into them. It's very simplistic and not... It doesn't really promote character customization. At the beginning you pick a class, and that's basically what you stick with. You never really get that much of a feeling of control over your character customization, which I do think is a big downside when you're making an RPG. I want to make a much more support-oriented mage. I don't really get to do that. Maybe much later on in later chapters, but you do have to use those AP points, the adventure points, as soon as possible, because you are going to get your ass handed to you if you don't. It's not an easy game, which I do really appreciate. I appreciate its difficulty, but the lack of character customization is disappointing.
What did he say? He said, these aren't the druids we're looking for. What? Hey! What are you? We're just killed.
Right, so, combat. I said it before, this is the main focus of the game. It certainly seems to be the main focus of the game, and this is really when Blackguards shines. Everything else around it is nice, but this is basically what you'll be doing the most, and what is actually quite well done. So right now it's my turn. You can see I have 2 types of collars where I can move into, 2 types of hex collars. Quite a fancy battlefield. These are all interactive objects. And as you can see, the blue bits I can move into the white bits. The blue bits basically mean I can still perform an action afterwards. If I move into the white bits, I cannot do an action afterwards. I'm basically sprinting, for those that may have played like XCOM or anything along those lines. You saw me pass these guys. If they had the feat called, the trait called Attack of Opportunity, they would have actually attacked me while I moved around that. You have to keep those kind of things in mind when you're moving here. So let's hit this guy with a nice smack to the head. And now it's my mage's turn. So again, I can do the same thing. I can move in the blue squares. I can still perform an ability. I can hit these interactive objects. Kind of pointless right now, but as you can see, now it creates a nice little fire zone. So if he's smart enough to walk over it, he will take fire damage. This other guy I have is also a mage. So let's see, what kind of spells do we have? We have a nice fireball. Let's set more things on fire, because that's fun to do. And now we have turned the entire battlefield into one nice fire zone, which he actually moved into. And now he's going to attack me. And that is essentially how the combat turns out. And it is quite tactical. You do have to keep quite a lot of things in mind. For instance, enemies can parry once, and then you can freely attack them. Parry chance, dodge chance, all of those things have to be kept in mind. I think what we'll do, we'll load a save much later on near the end of Chapter 2, so you can see a bit more advanced combat near the end of Chapter 2. This is still in the tutorial bits. Chapter 1 is a very slow tutorial, essentially. Alright then, this is right near the end of Chapter 2. You can tell it's much more advanced by the fact that we're fighting scary enemy beasts, of course. That always means it's more complex. So we have this guy here, where we're starting with. He had the highest initiative. We can move him towards the blue bits and still, well, he isn't in range to do anything. So I think what we'll do instead is we'll just wait with this guy, so we can still do something at the end of the turn. This, she's not in my control, by the way. I didn't fire into that weird random direction. It's actually a story reason why she's not under control, so that's quite nice. You may notice there's quite a lot going on this battlefield. There's these nice spikes on the ground, which we don't want to stand in. There's food, which I guess is not a good thing if they eat that. Might get a buff or something. And then there's this healing well, which I think I'll move towards because this guy did get damaged in a previous fight I did right before this. So now he gets a bit of a healing. Now we have the mage. Let's see, what do we want to do? We have a lot of enemy crocodile things, so I think we'll just move back, careful not to step into the spikes, and then we'll cast one of my vastly upgraded spells, which should be able to hit all of them. Basically, it's going to debuff all of them, which should make this quite a bit easier. And there we go. That's a nice fancy spell that's gone off there. And now they're all nice and frozen. Frozen crocodiles are much better than regular crocodiles, of course. He's going to move towards the food. I don't know what that does, but it's probably not a good thing. So these battlegrounds, these are really quite impressive. These battlegrounds change dramatically every single time. We don't want this crocodile to come towards me, so we'll move a bit back. And then we'll place this wall. You may notice line of sight, also very important. I cannot place anything behind this guy because my mage is in the way. I cannot place anything because of her being in the way. Obviously, the pillars are also in the way. Line of sight is very crucial with targeted abilities, so we're gonna place a wall right here so we force this crocodile to step over the spikes and take a bit of damage. But these battlegrounds, very impressive. There's some that have very interesting mechanics. I must really say they did a great job on those. Let's see, he has a spear, so I don't actually need to stand right in front of him. I can attack this tile where he is right now, so that's in fact what we're gonna do. He has quite a few abilities. I think we'll just do a death blow, which should do the most damage, ignores armor. There we go, 19 damage in his reptile face. And he can go again, because this was the end of the turn. The second turn has just started. Of course, we waited with him before. So we'll just attack him right again. We'll do this feint attack, which should have a much higher chance of hitting. And 1 damage, just enough to finish him off. Exactly how we want to see it. She actually hit something. Well done. And this guy, he is actually blocking the crocodile already. It's a 2 hex monster, so he has to move over those spikes. So we'll keep him here. I'm not that scared of the dwarf. He can take quite a bit of punishment. Now, one thing you really have to keep in mind in this game is your mana, or astral energy as it's called over here. You might notice the blue bar. Just trying to see what I can do here. For example, I can try and hit someone with a fireball, but that does expend quite a lot of my astral energy. Instead, I'll just do the safe thing. I'll cast an easy spell. That's the nice thing here. You can cast rank 2 or rank 1 if you gain both. So I'll just cast a rank 1 spell on my other mage who has been damaged before as well. So we'll do that. Heal him up a little bit. And that didn't cost that much astral energy for me. You regain them every turn if you're a mage, as long as you don't wear metal armor. But it is very, very crucial to keep those things in mind. He attacked him because he does have that attack of opportunity feat that I mentioned before. The dwarf got attacked. Who cares about dwarves? And the crocodile is coming closer. So let's see. And again, this guy attacked during the crocodile's turn because he has that attack of opportunity feat, which they didn't know. They should have. Dumb crocodiles. You can actually see those things from the animal lore and Warcraft talents if you have them, so this guy doesn't have them. I also can't see much about the crocodiles because I don't have animal lore, which she does, but she is useless right now. She does have quite a high rank of animal lore, but again, not that useful. This guy doesn't, so I can't actually see like his HP values of the crocodiles. I can see chance to hit, and attack of opportunity falls under the Warcraft thing as well. So as you can see, it's quite complex, certainly. I'm just gonna move this back a little bit, so he might get another attack of opportunity off if he moves closer. And I think we might hit someone with a nice fireball. Let's do that. That doesn't unfreeze him, which is great, because that wouldn't be that nice, because they do lose a lot of dexterity and stuff because of the frozen thing. And then we have the dwarf. The dwarf can move a bit back, save the mages, save the weak, fragile mages. Knockdown, I don't think that's going to be useful against a crocodile that's bigger than the dwarf, so just a smack to the face will do. And he's on very low health, so you know what? We'll risk it, go in with the staff, nice smack to the head, and that's a dead crocodile. And this is going very well thus far. It certainly helps that we spawn next to the spikes and actually notice them, which the crocodiles aren't. See what they're doing. One is escaping, and he's coming closer. I do think we're going to win this quite easily. Now, the main concern I have is actually astral energy management. I think I'm just going to use this potion here, because this is actually one of 3 fights. After this I'll have another fight. Before this I had 1 fight. We'll move him back. We'll just strike him in the face again. Standard fare. Standard crocodile hunting fare. And she's yeah, that was a very scary pillar. I can understand that. I think we'll just, you know what, we'll move him to the blue bits, the blue hex, and then we'll wait and see what the crocodile does. He might come closer. I think we might use a fireball. I do kind of want to keep the astral energy. Then again, when in doubt, just use a fireball. It's always the best solution. So I do want to note, I really like how the game looks visually thus far. You saw the towns earlier with the nice sun rays and lighting effects. The game just looks quite beautiful in general. The spell effects are quite nice. They generally have quite good animations. Way earlier in the first chapter, I was fighting these lizard men, which had some amazing animations. I do really like how the game looks graphically, and the battlegrounds are different every single time, which is very well done. Really, the combat and the battlegrounds, the technical combat is the main focus of this game, and it is highly enjoyable to smack crocodiles in the head. Or in this case, we'll just throw an axe at them, because that works too. Let's see, 55% chance, there we go. And the masterful crocodile dodge. But sometimes in these battlegrounds you also have really interesting things you might initially think are just decorations, like you have caves with stalactites hanging from the ceiling. which then actually aren't just decoration, and they might actually fall on top of your characters and kill them instantly, which is interesting if you like strike too hard with your dwarven melee attack, something along those lines. The Battlegrounds are really nicely done. I think I can actually set these reeds on fire, not with this ability, but I have a bigger fireball, I'm not sure. But this is basically the vast majority of what you'll be doing in this game, this tactical combat, and they do it really well. So, I will say, I am disappointed by the lack of character customization. As you can see, I'm still basically using the same abilities as I had right at the beginning, which is rather a shame. But beyond that, the game visually looks very nice. Story-wise, I can't say much yet about the game, because only 2 chapters. The first chapter is very slow, but the meat of the game, the combat, very enjoyable, highly tactical. It can be quite difficult. You do have to restart every now and then because you screwed it up. So I can really appreciate that, the level of difficulty and just the depth to the combat. If anything, it seems to be an excellent smack crocodiles in the face RPG. Again, you can get this game currently on Steam Early Access. You get the first 2 chapters. The game is set to release in January. And with that, my name has been Haas. This has been a look at Blackguards, and I'll see you in the next video.